Go ahead.
Sure, sounds good. Hey, good morning, everybody. Hopefully it's good morning wherever you're dialing in from. Most of us hopefully are here on the west coast of the U.S. This is Scott Davis. I'm a senior AEC Technical Specialist with Autodesk. And as was just introduced, I'm going to be talking to you guys today about BIM 360, and in particular, our document management solution for your AEC projects called BIM 360 Docs. Actually, a really exciting day to get a chance to show this stuff to you, just because we had a pretty major release last night. So some brand new tools and functionality that I haven't had a chance to show anybody yet. So you guys are the first, and luckily we're, I believe, recording this and capturing this for posterity as well. So some cool new features and functionality, especially on the Revit side of things, and even DWG, and some new tools around PDF as well for inserting some PDFs into docs. So we'll jump in and show that to you guys as well. So we're going to spend about the next hour or so going over this. If you do have questions along the way, go ahead and type those into the Q&A panel that's in the webinar, and hopefully we can get those answered in the background. And if not, then we can try to get those introduced or get those questions thrown out near the end, and I'll try to answer as many of them as I can. So just keep that in mind, and let's go ahead and get started. So again, this is all about BIM 360 Docs, Autodesk BIM 360 Docs. And so first and foremost, what is this BIM 360 thing that you might be hearing about? Because there's a little bit of confusion out there, admittedly so. We've made some changes over the course of the past year to some of the platform. So let me hopefully try to dispel some of those mysteries here a little bit. So BIM 360 is our platform for AEC. So for architecture, engineering, construction, and even owners, it's from design through handover and even maintenance and operations to some degree. It's a cloud-based platform that has an entire series of tools in it that allows you to do a number of things, and we're going to go over that today, some of those different tools that are available inside of the BIM 360 platform. Now, some of the confusion might have come in because we used to have a platform, no longer, that was called A360. And so many of you were introduced to A360 some time ago and maybe used some of those tools called like A360 Team. Well, those teams were, as an A tool, an Autodesk tool, were meant to be kind of generic. So they were meant for architecture, engineering, construction industry, the buildings industry, but they're also meant for the manufacturing side of our business. So for those that use Inventor and our other manufacturing tools as well. And as we developed that tool, we decided that with customer feedback that they really weren't one and the same. We needed to split those two things apart. So A360 is no longer, it has now been split into two different products. One is called BIM 360 Team, and the other side of that is called Fusion 360 Team. And so the BIM 360 Team portion now resides under this BIM 360 umbrella, which is another, the BIM 360 platform, which is a host of all kinds of different tools. So let's go take a look at what some of those tools are here, and I'll just go ahead and build this slide out. This is a timeline that shows kind of our typical construction and design and construction phases. And so at the very top of the list, we've got the phases here. So everything from design all the way through commissioning and handover. And at the very top, we've got this tool called BIM 360 Docs that we're going to go into some detail on today. And what BIM 360 Docs is our document management solution in the cloud. It's a place that you can host your files at, so your DWGs, your RVT files from Revit, your PDF files, and then really anything else that might be part of a project. So specifications, cut sheets, all of that data that you would typically have, job site photos, anything you would normally store on an office maps drive, a local network drive, let's say, you can now host on a BIM 360 project site. And what's really nice about the BIM 360 platform is you get unlimited storage for your projects. So when you subscribe, you get unlimited projects per user, so you subscribe per user, and you get unlimited storage space. So you're never, ever going to run out of storage space like you might on your own internal network. And speaking from experience, when I practiced architecture a little over 10 years ago now, it happened quite often where we'd run out of drive space on our internal network just because we were always filling it up with job site photos and the backup files for RBTs, for Revit files, and the backup files for TWGs. So in this environment, you're never going to run out of storage space. So you might think of that, like that this Docs project as just a simple repository, but it's really so much more than that. So at the basic level, you could think of it like a Dropbox site. It's something that you can actually put your files into. and you can see them from any computer, any device, because we have iOS and Android, and obviously desktop access via a browser, to all of that documentation from anywhere in the world that you have an internet connection. And when I say anywhere in the world, I fly a lot, and I've actually tried this. United Airlines Wi-Fi at 35,000 feet, and logged in, was able to get to my data and actually do some markups as well. So when I say it's more than just a repository, it is that. It's the basis. It's going to be our common data environment. So this CDE, we call it, is going to be this docs repository. So when you place all of your drawings, your models, all of your other information in docs, and they're readily accessible, that forms this common data environment that we can start to leverage downstream for other applications as well. And it's going to be the basis for all of our tools. So things like RFI tracking, submittals coming soon, doing markups, creating issues are all going to be on top of this docs platform. So currently today, BIM 360 has a bunch of other tool sets inside of it, and I'll give you a little hint of what we're trying to do, and maybe I already did, but the idea is that right now, as these are individual separate applications, over the course of this year, these things are all going to start being melded together. BIM 360 Glue, Point Layout, or Autodesk Layout, BIM 360 Layout app, BIM 360 Plan, Field, and even Building Ops are really getting rolled into a singular experience. So logging in from one location will allow you to have access to all the different functionality without having to launch a separate tool. But currently today, there is a little bit of separation between these. So for instance, BIM 360 Glue is our clash detection engine via the cloud. So this is all about clash detection and coordination. It's really meant for that design, kind of pre-construction phase. It's meant to work alongside of Navisworks. So a lot of customers ask me, do I use Navisworks or do I use Glue? Which one should I choose? And the answer is both, because they are really meant to work hand in hand with each other. And in fact, hopefully I get a chance to show you a couple of really cool things here today about that. And I meant to have a website already dialed up, but I'll show you some cool things that you can do with Glue now with some of the new functionality. So that tool is using the Navisworks Clash engine via the cloud. Currently today, you upload your models to the Glue site, and then you can perform merged model operations, and you can do clash detection and markups there as well. And then there's BIM 360 Layout, which is really kind of a two-application tool. The first part of that application is a plugin that runs on top of your desktop operating software. So Revit, Navisworks, AutoCAD, this Autodesk Point Layout, APL tool we call it, runs on top of those applications and automates the placement of points in your models. So 3D points, XYZ points in space on things that are important to lay out during construction. Slab edge conditions, corner conditions, hanger wire locations, embed locations before you pour concrete, lighting locations in the ceiling, really anything that needs to be located that you would typically string out a tape measure on the site. You can locate those 3D points in space using the APL tool. And then the second part of that tool is an app that you run on an iPad. It's called the BIM 360 Layout app that allows us from the authoring software through Glue to very easily push those points out to the guys in the field that are running the laser-guided robotic total stations. And so they can hook that iPad directly to a total station, bypassing the typical data collectors that are used on those devices. And they get both a 3D and a 2D view of the model and the points. And so they can easily see where those points are in space relative to what they're looking at on a construction site, and quickly and easily lay out those points. But it's also a two-way street, because we can do data collection with the layout app from the site to do QA/QC. So we can go back and resurvey points that have been laid out, bring them back into the authoring software like Revit, and then the APL tool has some features in it for doing deviation analysis. So we can actually do some studies to find out if we're on track or within tolerance or not on our points, or even if the points were laid out at all, because that happens on construction sites. Many of you guys know you miss stuff. And so this is a good way to verify that all the points have been taken care of, or all those locations prior to doing things like pouring concrete. Moving down here a little bit, so this is BIM 360 Plan. It's really kind of pre-construction through commissioning and handover. And what BIM 360 Plan is a tool that is known by kind of many different names in the industry. It's lean construction methodologies, it's pull planning, it's called micro-scheduling, It's called look-aheads, 1 week, 3 week, 5 week look-aheads. There's all kinds of different nomenclature there, but that's what BIM 360 Plan is all about, is that lean construction methodology of taking an overall master schedule from something like Microsoft Project or Primavera P6, loading it into Plan, and then being able to break it down into a smaller micro segment, so down to the individual subcontractor level, so the subs can understand what their look ahead is. What are they doing in the next week or the next 3 weeks on site? But the nice thing about this, again, is there is an iPad app, so then those individual subs can be on site and can be responding to their tasks in Plan at their own pace. And so as they finish a task, they can mark it as complete. If they do not complete a task on time, they can mark it as incomplete. They can put a root cause in there of why they're not able to accomplish that on schedule. That then provides back to the general contractor some analytics about why things may not be going as smoothly as they should be on a construction site, or where they can start to make up time to make that schedule back up again. So just a very, very powerful tool there. I talk about it from the construction or the GC standpoint and kind of fields and sub-consultants, but I even have architects that are using BIM 360 Plan for production scheduling. So rather than thinking of subcontractors, they think of their own staff, they plug their own staff into Plan, they put the projects that they have going on at any moment in time, and who's assigned to what project, and then they can start understanding their own workforce and how many hours people are putting in on projects, and how they might do some different resource allocation there as new projects come up. All right, moving down just to finish out the rest of the platform here before we jump into the meat of today's discussion, which is BIM 360 Docs, is to tell you briefly about Field, BIM 360 Field. This, by its namesake, is a field application. It's really iPad first. It's about taking the data that you need to for construction out on site on a tablet. And so there's a desktop application for Field. That's where the project manager, project administrator would load the appropriate data in, the models, the drawings, the specs, again, any of that data that you might need out in the field gets loaded up, and then the user on the iPad syncs their iPad with that data. They grab the available data that they might need to for that day or that week. They can then go offline, work completely without a Wi-Fi signal on site, and they can do further collection of data in the field. So they have the ability to go in and start doing issue tracking, doing punch listing, doing additional markups, seeing 3D models in space as they're standing on the construction site, QA, QC. They can even start commissioning, and that's a very important part. They can start commissioning equipment using Field as well, putting the additional data fields as the equipment is coming on site and going through pre-functional checklists, going through startup procedures, going through commissioning procedures, and then even going through handover procedures are all different modules that are inside of the 360 Field. So again, a very powerful tool there. And then last but not least, really more on the owner's side down here, is a tool that we have that's called Building Ops, Autodesk Building Ops. This is a work ticket system tool that allows the information that's been placed into models using glue, field, even layout, etc., to be then handed over to the owner on day one of that building's operations. So they have a work ticket system tool that's pre-populated with all of the data, the models, the drawings, the cut sheets, any issues that might have arisen on site, the warranty information, that kind of information that you would typically hand over to an owner at the end of the job. That's 45, 50 binders, plastic binders full of paper information and maybe some CDs and some jump drives that you might hand over to them, and that sits on the shelf of the facilities office. This is all now handled electronically, given over to them via Building Ops, and now they have a work ticket system tool that they can use immediately day one of the building's operations. That will then help keep warranty, those typical one-year warranty periods, moving forward very, very smoothly and effectively as the building is being turned over. All right, so that gives you an idea of this entire BIM 360 platform. It is our design and construction platform going forward. There will be a lot more tools and functionality added to BIM 360 as we continue to evolve the product and move forward. And in fact, currently today, there's a new release of tools in the BIM 360 platform, in particular in BIM 360 Docs, about every 2 to 4 weeks. And as I said, we just had a major release yesterday in Docs. So it is evolving very, very quickly, and we continue to add new features and functionality to this all the time. All right, so let me escape out of PowerPoint here and minimize that or get rid of it. So we're going to jump in and show you now BIM 360 Docs. So BIM 360 Docs, at its most basic level, is meant to be very familiar and very simple, right? So when you first see it, you're looking at a series of folders and subfolders. We're already into a view over here that's looking at some models. And in fact, let me just go back here for a moment and show you what it might look like if you just very first jumped into a BIM 360 Docs project and logged in. So across the top, we've got a drop down that allows us to very quickly and easily drop or bounce back and forth from project to project. And this project list is the ones that I have been assigned to or have access to. So I'm currently logged in. So I'm only seeing those projects that are assigned to me. So here's my little login avatar over here. You can provide your own photo or picture, and then every person can have their own kind of bio inside of the BIM 360 platform. So if you are working with maybe project teams that are more remote and you don't know them very well, or you're working with consultant teams that are on your Docs project, it's just a very, very helpful way for everybody to know who all is working on the team. And then there's some administration functions over here, account admin if you're an account administrator, project administration features if you are that as well. And let me go ahead and move this GoToMeeting out of the way. And then beyond that is our help button. Of course, if you ever get stuck, there's a very robust help menu. And in fact, I already brought it up. It's over here. So this is all of our BIM 360 Docs and our help and our what's new. And we're going to go explore that here in just a moment as well. And then just to keep moving around the screen here briefly, we've got down in the bottom corner this kind of little green scholarly icon. That's your kind of quick start guide, your getting started guide. This is what I recommend everybody do when they first jump into Docs. They can quickly go through a list of how to upload documents, how to add folders, how do you get to the mobile app, how do you invite members, et cetera, et cetera. And once you get through that, and it doesn't take very long, I would say most people can get through that in under an hour, you've got a pretty good idea about how BIM 360 Docs works and you can navigate around. So then currently we have this main kind of drawing pane or window pane here. And so we're currently on a tool that's called folders. And our folders is hopefully the way that you work today, right? So if you're using Windows Explorer and you've got a series of folders on your own drive, same idea here. You will start a project and you're going to have a plans category. You won't have the shop drawings. That's something else that I did that we used to do. So you'll just see a plans folder now when you start Docs, and then you'll have a divider line, and you'll see another main subject folder that says project files. And then under the plans folder, it's up to you. You basically create any number of folders and subfolders that you like. There is an add subfolder button here, so you can go in and really recreate any typical folder structure that you guys might have as a standard today inside of BIM 360 Docs. We will be adding functionality soon that will allow this to become a much easier process, the ability to template these folders so we can easily copy them from new project to new project, and then even recreate folder structures we might currently have on a network store by maybe a drag and drop functionality right into Docs to recreate that folder structure. But currently today we have to go in and create a folder and then add a subfolder, and we create the names ourselves. But then we've got ways over here to be able to sort these, so we can sort them by name, by date. There's all different ways that we can get into the data. And then really importantly about this little menu that I just clicked on is the permissions. And so this is a very, very important part of Docs, is the ability to not only put data on a cloud site that people can get to, but also to basically set this up so that you have permission. So getting the right data to the right people at the right time, and then excluding data from other people. So the permissions dialog box allows you to come in and set permissions at any single folder and subfolder by either an individual username, by a company name, or by a role. So in this case, I've got Autodesk set up as a company. I've got a project manager role in here, and I've got a bunch of individual names in this. And you can see that right now that Autodesk, so anybody that would be invited to this particular project that is assigned the company of Autodesk, by default at this folder level, and then everything down below it, because the rights get inherited down the folder structure, will have at a minimum view-only rights to that particular folder. And then you can go in and you can put in individual users, and then you can control their level of permissions, really anything from upload only to what we just saw, view only, view and upload, view, upload, and edit, and then full control rights as well. And so let me stop there at the edit, because this is a point of clarification. Many people say, does that mean that anybody can edit my Revit files? No. So when you're in a docs environment, what we're talking about in the edit functionality here is the ability to edit things that you're creating in docs, like a markup or an RFI or an issue. So we can go in and edit those things. We're not actually physically editing the underlying Revit file or the underlying DWG file if you're using those inside of docs. Okay, so just hopefully be clear about that. And so what we think of as in this plans folder at the top here is really all of our working drawings. So, and I should say working drawings and working models. So plans has this unique ability when you actually do something like, if I drill down in here to my models tab, I'm going to have a single RVT file, and in this plans folder, when I upload an RVT file, it's automatically going to extract out all of my sheets and my 3D view. So I'm going to see all of those all at once. So in this case, I uploaded a single RVT file called 56750_A for this project, and it automatically extracted out all of my sheets for me. And I'll get into the viewing technology there in just a moment. That's why this plans folder is really our working drawing section. Now, this project files folder down here under this divider is another series of folders that is user definable that you can create and do permissions for and on again. So we have all the permissions down here. And importantly, the subscribe button if you want to subscribe to a folder as a user, so that when new things get uploaded or updated that you get notified. That's another important feature here. But this project files folder area is not going to do that automatic sheet extraction. So if you upload an RVT file down here, it's just going to be simply the RVT file as a 3D model view. You'll be able to see it, but it's not going to extract all of the sheets out. But you would also then be able to take that RVT and give the user permission to download it from this project files location if they wanted to download it to their own network and use it from there. The plans folder is really about uploading folders and then being able to view them. There is no download capabilities in the plans folder section up here at the top. All right, so now let's get real quickly other tools along the side, and we're going to dive into these. So this is our tool set. So folders, issue tracking, and RFIs. And soon this is going to start filling up down this list with other tools. You can go look at the BIM 360 docs roadmap that's part of the help file system. I can show you that in just a moment. And it talks about things we're working towards, things like submittals and other tool features. So you'll start seeing those added to this BIM 360 docs toolbar as well. So earlier when I talked about in the PowerPoint slide, a single source of information, this is really it. You're going to be able to log into your BIM 360 site, and you're going to have an entire series of tools, functionalities, workflows that are all available for you from a single source of truth, a single set of information, this common data environment, rather than what you might be doing today, which is putting an RVT on a Dropbox site, and then maybe another consultant wants it emailed to them, and another one wants it on an SCP site, and then another member of the team wants something uploaded to something like Newforma, and now you've got that same exact data in 4 different locations. In a docs project, the idea is that we upload it to one location, we give everybody access to it from here, and then everybody's working off the same source of information rather than this disjointed method. Or even going back a step further, things that used to happen to me in practice was sending out a file to somebody, and we'll talk a little bit about version control here in a second, but sending out a file to somebody via email and then suddenly going, oh, darn it, I need to make another change. And so then I went in and I would go, save as and call it, file name -final, and then email it to them again. And then I'd make another change. Oh man, now what do I call it? So file name -final -2. So at some point in time, you guys have all seen that, right? I laugh about it a little bit, but we've all seen it. But at some point in time, nobody knows what's the latest and greatest source of information any longer. So that's one of the main issues we're really trying to solve with docs, is give you all a single source, a single repository, so that anybody that goes into a docs project site knows that they're using the latest and greatest information. Now, inside of this, since we've extracted out all of the sheets of this RVT file, you also might notice that they all have versions. So every time we upload a new RVT file, it's automatically going to version control this file for us. So we're now currently on version 6 of some sheets, we're on version 5 of some, and maybe even version 1 down here of a 3D model of, I think, the furniture plan. Well, that's because as you guys know, in Revit, if you make a change somewhere, it doesn't always affect every single sheet. And so because Docs is treating these sheets individually, it knows that, there's been some activity on the ground floor plan, but maybe that change did not affect the sections of the sheet here. So that one's still on version 5 at this point. So just by uploading a file, we know that this particular drawing set is our absolute latest and greatest drawing set. Now, just before I jumped on the call with you guys today here, there was some exciting news this morning that actually got published last night at, I think, 11 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, so I didn't even find out about it until this morning. But one thing that we just added, and let me jump over here to, I'll show you where I got it. I went to the BIM 360 help, so from Docs, click the little question mark, go to help. That takes us here. And then I went to new in BIM 360 Docs, and that took us to this website. And then I went into the Docs release notes. And so brand new for today, a couple things. We've changed the entire PDF drawing upload experience so that it's faster processing. It supports multi-page and single sheet PDF files. Just basically redefining that process and making it really easy to do. And if you've had any experience with Docs to this point, one thing what we have to do with PDFs, basically, so that we can do this automatic scanning of the files and understand what sheet names and sheet numbers are, so we can do some automatic hyperlinking for you, is that PDFs have to understand where the title block information is. So you define a title block for each set of PDFs, and then you can change that on the fly. So we've basically redone that experience here so that we can come in to an individual sheet, define the title block, or assign it a title block that's already been defined that basically highlights where that sheet name and number is on that sheet. But as I scroll down here, what I think is the most exciting, being normally a Revit user and much less of a PDF user, as I scroll down, is that we just added this. So linked file upload support. So support for Revit linked files and DWGs with XREFs. And so we'll focus on this, which is Revit linked files. This is huge. In the past in Docs, when you uploaded, let's say, an architectural file, that's all you saw. But if you, in your Revit session, you had a structural file linked in as well, and you also had an MEP file linked in, when you brought those into Docs, you didn't see the structure, you didn't see the MEP, so it was harder to do coordination. So just today, that got added, that capability. So now when we go into the upload button, you can either upload a single file, or there's a new experience to upload linked files, and basically it goes through a processing center for you, and this is all new. You choose which RVT file is the parent file. So in my case, I chose that my architectural was the parent file, and then this is a screenshot, but I went in and I linked in my structural model and my mechanical model as well into that. And so I did that just before the call. So what I'm going to do now is go back into Docs. I'm going to go into my publish log. I can see that part of it's done, but I'm going to go to my publish log here, and this is going to show me where we're currently at. All right, perfect. So brand new. My file name is 56750_A. It's linked, uploaded by me. It was uploaded in this particular folder. I told you just before the call, so it uploaded 10 minutes before our call start time this morning. And now this was actually processing in the background, so I was glad it was finished. It's been published, and now we can view it or show it in the folder. Well, we're going to go look at it, so I'm going to go ahead and exit. But be aware that everything you push up to your project site will show up in this publish log, so you can always see exactly what status all of these different uploads are at any point in time. All right, so the next part about Docs that differentiates it from something as simple as Dropbox is that when you upload something to Dropbox and you get this folder list and you get all these file names, what happens when you click on a file name? Pretty much nothing. It just says, do you want to download that file? Well, what if I want to see it? So that's one beauty of Docs is no matter if you upload an RVT file, a DWG, a PDF, and really to any user that's part of the project that may or may not have that kind of capability, maybe they don't have Revit on their machine, we're eliminating the need in Docs to actually have to make another file format. So you don't have to make PDFs any longer to get files out to other people that are non-Revit users. What a time sink is it for you guys to make PDF files? I know it's not easy. You've got large drawing sets, and oftentimes they take a lot of time to spool off those drawing sets to an electronic PDF file format, or even longer to spool them off to a normal printer, right? So in here, we just simply upload our RVT file, no PDFs, no plugins required, no DWFs, the old Autodesk DWF that is still in use today, but we just simply upload our RVT file, and then any one of these sheets, views, anything else that's part of this project file, even the 3D views we'll get to here in a moment, I can just simply click on. So let's just go check out the second floor plan. It's going to load it up, and I'm going to be able to view that sheet no matter if I have Revit on that machine or not. So here's the plan view, second floor. There's already been some markups associated with it, and we'll get into these guys here in just a second. So there's a couple of markups. There's a couple of round things, yellow and green. So those are actually issues, and we'll get to what those are here in just a moment. And there's even a square one that's purple. That one signifies an RFI that's basically in a phase that has been submitted. So everything's color coded. Let me go ahead and turn these off. So we've got some controls down here at the bottom of the screen to be able to toggle on and off these different markups and things. So at its most basic level, so I start to zoom in and pan around this particular view, you'll see that even though my mouse is actually reacting a little bit slow today on the zoom, my scroll factor is off, but as I pan and zoom around this thing, it's very, very quick, and it's not taking any time for the actual view to appear. In other PDF viewing applications I've seen in the past, you know, you zoom into a PDF and it has this kind of fuzzy appearance to it, and it takes, you know, sometimes a second to a few seconds for that thing to kind of snap in and show it in its clear form. And then as you pan again, it, you know, it has to kind of redo that all over again. In this world, you know, everything's clear, it's concise, it's easy to move around. In fact, my pan is very, very fast. So hopefully that's coming through the GoToMeeting here very, very clearly. The other thing we've done is, because this is an RVT file, is we've automatically gone through and hyperlinked the entire set for you. So all of these little kind of bluish color callouts are all automatic hyperlinks, absolutely no effort on user part whatsoever. We do all of that. You don't have to go through and set up manual hyperlinks, tell it anything. You just upload your RVT file. So we can just simply come and click on any one of these section detail callouts. We get a thumbnail, says view. If we want to go there, then we just pick the view button, and we're going to be taken to that particular sheet. And we can continue. So if I want to go to this section, it's on A401, we can do that. And as I continue to make my way through this set, we're building that return list over here for you as well. So you can very easily jump back to any of the previous views that you've been to. There's, of course, just a, you know, flip the sheet button on both the right and the left, depending on if you're at the beginning of the set or not. These might, beginning or end, these might not show up, but you can just go next document, and then there is a thumbnail viewer down here at the bottom of the screen that you can activate that has thumbnails of the sheets and their names and numbers down here. If you hover over them, they'll pop up so you can get a better, clearer understanding of what those are. So you can navigate to a sheet very easily as well. Let me move my GoToMeeting bar here just a bit. There we are. Get this out of the way. I'm going to put this on the top of the screen, I think. Sorry, give me a second. Oh, it won't move. All right, so we'll leave it on the side right there. Okay, so there's the sheet. There's the navigation, being able to view, pan, zoom around a sheet, return back to any of the previous sheets that we've been to or previous views that we've been to before. So now we're back at that level of detail. I was showing this to a customer just within the last couple of weeks, and they went, all right, so that's a PDF, right? I went, no, see, that's the point. This isn't a PDF. There's no need to make PDFs. We just simply upload our RVT files, and we've got full, fast viewing technology. But beyond that, we've got the ability to do things like markups, issue tracking, and RFIs. So let's go take a look first. I'm going to go ahead and hide my issues and my RFIs. Let's go take a look at this markup panel first. So as I zoom in here a little bit closer, you're going to see some, looks like some freehand markups, some text. Here's my markup panel. So this is the tool set for this sheet. So here's my markup panel for the sheet. And I've got 3 current markups. If I pick on any one of these, they're going to highlight that particular one for me. And you can see that they're currently all open. So none of these have been closed out as a markup. And this one, you know, was somebody's, you know, actually when I say somebody, it was me. So any markup gets automatically author stamped and date stamped. And it also knows what version of the drawing that markup was created with in the first place. And so this particular markup was created in V5. We're currently in V6. So this markup wasn't created in the most current version of the project, but it still exists here because it hasn't been closed out yet. So your markups will automatically live on from version to version of the drawing until you physically come in and mark them as being closed. Now, another thing you can do here is there's attachments, so we can go and actually, to this markup, attach anything else as part of our docs project, whether it's a plan, it's in the project files, it's in my shop drawings folder that was created earlier. So I can very quickly and easily basically upload anything I need to my docs site, put it in a folder, and then link it to a particular issue, or to a particular markup. So if I needed this to be linked to a job site photo, I could load that into the project and I could link that photo directly in there as well. So when I go to add a new markup, it's going to present me with a series of tools down here at the bottom. So here's my markup capabilities, kind of normal boxes, rectangles, squares, circles, and ovals, and then a cloud tool as well. So let's pick a cloud. I could also do freehand. I can do arrows. Of course, I can do text. I've got the ability to change color of any one of these and thickness of them as well. So let's go kind of thin, and let's, oops, cancel. I just messed that up. Let's pan around here a little bit, and I want to come in maybe to this visiting doctor's room here, and we'll do a new markup, and we'll come in. Oops, darn it. Ha! Did it again. Going to add a new markup. I want it as a cloud. There we go. And then I'm going to add some text, and we're going to put some text in there that says revise, just to keep it simple. I'm going to hit enter. When I click done, it's going to automatically add it to my list, created a new cloud. It's an open ticket item. It was created on this current version of the drawing set, D6 that I'm in, today at 10:39 a.m. And now we've got a complete history of all of the markups for this particular sheet. And if we want to close out of that sheet, we also have, well, not for markups, but I'll get into issues. We also have some logs over here at the very top level of this project, so that we've got the ability to see all of the outstanding issues and all of the outstanding RFIs for a particular project. So I will come back over here in just a second and show you that as well. All right, so let's go back in here. Let's go back into that plans folder. I'm going to drill back into my where my models are located at. All right, getting there. And now let's go, we looked at a plan. Let's go look at a 3D file because the 3D model comes along with this as well. So that's going to load up in what we call our large model viewer window. And when that's available here, there we are. So it's coming up. It's going to add some materiality to it. You can see the process bar down here at the bottom. It allows me to start moving around prior to the whole thing kind of being complete. But what I've got now is the ability to obviously come in, move, pan around, zoom into a particular area. Oh, and I didn't show this to you in the plan view earlier, but any object I select on, whether it's in 2D or 3D from a Revit file, will have all of its property information listed here as well. So in this case, I picked on a wall. There's the Revit object ID, and all of the information about that wall is there as well. Maybe it's the surface, maybe it's any of the other objects that happen to be in this particular file are all listed there for me as well. We can also do markups in 3D, so that same markup that we did there a moment ago. We can also do 3D section analysis. So this is really key for, again, for those people that are maybe the non-Revit types on the project that just want to get in and explore a model with a very simple, quick lesson on how to toggle on the planes here, X, Y, or Z, or even a box, and then the section controls, which is really just this gizmo here, allows me very quickly and easily to do a 3D section. And right now it's very orthogonal. It's more kind of floor plan-like. It's adding a poché at the cut for me. But you can do some really interesting things, like we can actually start to tilt the cut planes if we needed to. So if you had something that was a more irregular geometry, you can start tilting these cut planes in either direction as well. So just a really cool way to be able to navigate around a file very quickly and easily, even for those people that are not familiar with Revit at all. We can also measure inside of this. So the measurement tool, when we turn off the 3D section for a moment, allows us to come in, pick our units, and then really kind of measure from any surface to any surface. So maybe from the roof to this section of the ground plane, 28 foot 2.5. If I had been in some, let's see if I can do this, if I can find some plane that was, there we go. So I actually measured an angle between those in that particular case. And in some instances, it'll actually tell you your XYZ dimension as you move around. So there's another angular dimension because that's off a little bit. So all different ways of measuring from within your project. One thing I know that we're supposed to be adding soon is going to be the ability to do some area measurements as well. So some really cool, interesting functionality there inside of the 3D viewing window as well. Let me see, was there something else I needed to show you in 3D? Maybe, let's go back in here. Oh, the project browser, I didn't show you that. So the model browser. So this basically gives you instant access to all of the modeled elements that are inside of it. So, you know, if you need to isolate out the doors, you can do that. Let me zoom in a little closer. Got it kind of zoomed out here. So now you can see that it's basically ghosting out the model except for the doors, and then I can drill into something very particular. So if I want to come into one particular exterior door, and if you double click on it, it actually zooms in and shows you where that is in the model. So might have been because the material of this door is actually gray, made it a little bit hard to see, but you just double click on an object and it will go right into that. And of course, we can always come back up to the top level. If you ever get lost, you can just simply click on the home button. There's even a walkthrough tool here as well. So if you want to go through kind of a gaming kind of environment, you can click the walkthrough tool and you can easily navigate through that 3D model as well. All right, so let's move on here a little bit. That's really all of the information about being able to see all of your RBT files, right? Being able to see a plan, being able to go in and see these 3D files. Let's go back into a sheet here and talk a little bit about issue tracking and RFIs, right? So I'm going to go toggle off the markups for a moment, and we'll toggle off our RFIs. So we're left on this second floor A102 sheet. We've got 2 issues currently going on. So let's bring up our issue log for the sheet. So in this case, I've got one that's been answered, it's green. And I've got one that's number 32 that's still an open ticket item. It was created by
Hey Scott, if you can hear me, we just lost audio.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me now?
Oh, you're back. There you are.
All right. How long did you lose audio for?
About 5 seconds. You're good.
Okay. Good deal. I was on a web call yesterday, and I lost audio for about 30 seconds to a minute, and they didn't tell me right away. So thanks for letting me know. All right. So what I was saying here is I've got kind of 2 issues. One's an open ticket item. It was assigned to Michael Bugbee. It's still open. It was due back in March. It's still an open ticket item, so I'm behind schedule. I can pick on any one of these issues, and since this is an open ticket one, if I wanted to close this out, I could come in here and type in my official response. I'll just, type in anything for now. Now I could, that could be my official response. Mark it as closed. I won't do that. But maybe I just need some more information. So there's a pane down here at the bottom of this text message. It allows me to go in and say things like need more info, right? Whatever it might happen to be. I can even add attachments and then post it. So now what I'm doing is I'm starting with my team a threaded response about that particular issue so we can help resolve this together. It's a collaboration, right? That's what this is all about. It's getting this information out to the team, being able to solve this stuff together rather than in a vacuum, and rather than trying to email this stuff back and forth. I don't know about you guys, but my email inbox gets swamped and stuff gets buried. So being able to see it in a project level environment here is huge for the way that I would work, and hopefully for the way that you guys would work as well. So that's our issue tracking. If we needed to create a new, if we need to create a new issue, the same thing, pick add. My cursor, it tells me over here, turns into a crosshair. Basically, it allows me to zoom into anything in the project, any particular location, whether it's an elevation, section, plan view that I'm in here, and essentially drop a push pin. So maybe that's exactly where this issue is. If I was in an elevation, I could pin it directly on a wall. I could say this is an open ticket item. Otherwise, if I leave it draft, it stays blue. So blue, yellow, and green. Give it a title. I'll just keep this simple. Give it a description. Give it a location. I could say this is room 2019. We aren't quite room aware yet, but hopefully we're getting there too. And this is the most important part about issues, being able to actually go in and assign this. So now I can assign this to an individual. So I could say that this needs to go to Joe Gould. It's due, let's give him, give him all the way till Monday. Maybe he has to work the weekend. All right, so we're going to give him till Monday to pick up that issue. Now, it doesn't have to be an individual. I could also come down here and say, you know what, I'm going to assign that to a company. I'm going to assign that to Autodesk. So if I did that, anybody that's in this project that's assigned to Autodesk would be notified that they have a new outstanding issue, number 00032, I think it was, or 33 is where we are sequentially in this, and then they would get a hyperlink that would take them directly back into Docs and zoom into where this issue is. Or I can also assign that to a role. So I could say architect, construction manager, contractor, subcontractor, etc. All different ways I can assign issues to individuals on the project. So I will add another one here. Oops, here's some new stuff, right? So if you're got an update, you can go in and there's some new stuff about what's new in Docs. And so you can hit download and it'll take you through all of the new stuff as a quick little workflow. It's this idea of this little green scholar over here. All right. Moving on, I'll close out of issue tracking. We'll finalize with RFIs. And so RFIs are our square push bins. And so let me toggle off our issues. Now I've got just one RFI in this particular sheet. It's right over here at the elevator. It was submitted by me back in March 10th. And my role at that particular point, I made myself, in this particular case, I was subcontractor. So when I created this RFI, this automatically got routed to the general contractor role. So whoever is the general contractor on this project, this kind of fake project, just got notified that they have a new outstanding RFI. And so now they can come back in and they can click on this RFI. They can come down and they can add some comments to this. And because I'm not the general contractor, if I was, I could actually come in here and answer this, right? So the answer could be an official answer here that would then get rerouted back to the sub that created that in the first place. And if the general can't answer it, then they can basically mark it as needs further clarification, and it will get pushed downstream in a typical RFI workflow process to go subcontractor, general contractor, or CM, construction manager, if you have that, and then it gets pushed back down to the architect, and then from the architect back down to the consultant team, and then when the answers start getting placed inside of Docs, they will get rerouted all the way back up the chain through an approval process back to the person that asked the question or posted the RFI in the first place. Just like the issue tracking and the markups, we have attachments, so I can come in and add an attachment to this. If I am on the iPad and I do, or an Android, and I push the attachment button, the first thing it wants to do is activate the camera, kind of assumes I'm on site, so I can start taking photos of particular issues or things that are RFIs, needs clarification, and attaching those images directly to this as well. So there's our RFI tracking. So very, very cool functionality. The only other thing I didn't hit upon down here at the bottom of the screen, I think that's important, is being able to add your own hyperlinks. So if you wanted to hyperlink to something in this drawing session, we can come in and window an area. It's going to bring up my library. I can link to another file that's inside of this. I can link to another sheet and basically create my own hyperlinks. I canceled, so I didn't create a new one here. And then back at the top level detail of this is the ability then, like I said, to see your overall issue log and your overall RFI log. So I'm in the issue log. I've currently got 35 outstanding issues in the project. Some are answered, some are closed, some are open. So, 35 isn't many. Your projects will probably have many more. So the ability to actually start filtering this down and being able to see what's important to me is part of Docs as well. So I could say something like, I want to see all of the open ticket items that have been assigned to, and I'll just put myself in here for now, assigned to me. And then we can apply that. So now it's going to refilter that list, and it's going to show me, man, I've got a lot of outstanding open ticket items, and they were due, all of them were due back in 2016. So I'm well overdue on many, many of these issues that I was supposed to pick up. So let's go take a look at this one. I can just simply click on it here out of the log. It was created by Joe on October 13th. He says, let's review the trim package. He attached a photo to that as well from his iPad. It's still an open ticket item. So now I could come in here as an official response and say, trim is approved via your photo. I don't know, making something up. And then now mark that as answered. So now I'm starting to clear out my list. Joe just got a notification because he created this that I answered his issue number 18. And now our status, the history has automatically changed from open to answered. And now again, I've got that history that's there for this documentation set for us as well. There's a next, so I can just simply circulate next, 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 and go through all of my different issues that I have. And if I wanted to go see where this was on the sheet, this is relatively new too. This popped up within the last month or so, is View on Document, which then will actually launch the sheet where this was created at in the first place, and it will actually highlight that particular issue. So here it is. It's the kind of bigger button. It's got its number below it. It's now been marked as answered, so the color is turned green, and there we are, right? All right, a couple other things I want to show you before we run out of time. We've got about 8 minutes or so left in our session here. Oops, got to close out. My browser just froze on me. Chrome sometimes does this. Unfortunately, I should start using Firefox maybe. Let's just go ahead and launch a new window just to save time here. So I'm going to jump back into Docs again while that one figures out what it's doing. The nice thing about being cloud-based is it's really easy to get back in here again and drill right back into what information you need to see. But we're going to go back into that model set. A couple other tools here that I think are really important. So I'm going to go back into my models. And I'm going to go into this ground floor plan. You notice that it has 11 versions currently. So let's go ahead and pick on that. Now I get the complete version history of that. So our V11 is the most current. This is the one that was just uploaded, uploaded this morning by me at 9:56 a.m. So it got completed 4 minutes before our call started. It only took about maybe 10 minutes to go through that RVT and extract all of the sheets out of it. So it's very, very quick. But I've got a complete version history here. So the very first V1 was uploaded last year in June by me. And what I want to show you here, not only is the version history, but this very cool tool right here that's called Compare Versions. So I'm going to go ahead and pick on that. It's basically going to allow me to select 2 sheets off of this list. So I know that this is where some changes have happened. So I'm going to pick V5 and version 1 of this, and then I'm going to hit Compare. What that's going to do is open up a new drawing pane, and it's automatically going to overlay and align these 2 drawings on top of each other. And it's going to start allowing me to see what physically what changed between those drawing versions. So as I zoom in a little bit closer, this is what I call virtual light table. So really we've taken 2 sheets of paper, in essence, virtual paper, and overlaid them. So you might be able to see that I've got some dimensions here that are a little bit gray. This door is a little bit gray. It's got the same door number. So it really looks like if you were on a real light table, that's what you see is, you know, one sheet of paper over the other. There's been a change there. Well, to make this really apparent, we added in Docs the ability to add color to that. So now when I pick on the color icon, it's going to color those things that were V1 in red, those other things that were version 5 in blue, and now it really starts to stand out on the screen. Where were those changes? As I zoom back out, everything that's purple is red over blue, no change, and then you can start to see that this door moved from one location to the next. And in fact, if I come in here and pick this tool, so we're in overlay mode now, I pick this slider control, allows me to essentially flip the sheet, so to speak, back and forth on the light table. So there's before, there's after, and now you can start seeing that that door moved from one position to the next. And in fact, some dimensions moved as well, because the dimensions used to be right where the new door position is. So some of those annotations moved as well. And that slider mode also works in this black and white kind of view, so you can, again, see what it looks like when you flip the sheet back and forth. So that's actually one of my favorite tools, you know, as an architect in the past. That's something that was saved me a tremendous amount of time, you know, getting my updated files from consultants and not understanding what changed or not having them. It was impossible, right? We always ask them, cloud all of your changes. That's kind of an impossibility. So many changes happen to model, you can't possibly cloud everything. So now in this world, we give you the ability to let the computer show you those things that change. So we don't even have to waste time going through an entire drawing set and clouding changes any longer. We just let BIM 360 Docs handle that for us as well. All right, so we're getting close to the end of our time here together. Other things that I could come in here and show you, we do have the ability to do PDFs as I talked about earlier. So I do have a folder here of PDFs. This was a multi-sheet PDF, meaning it was one singular file that had a number of sheets in it. Again, here we extracted that out into all of its individual elements. So each sheet in this multi-sheet PDF gets treated individually. And if I wanted to go see any one of these, again, I can just simply pick on that view, whether I've got Acrobat or Bluebeam or not, and we automatically can come in and start to view that sheet. You also notice the hyperlinks. And so because when we imported this PDF, we defined the title block and told it where the sheet number and the sheet name were. we've gone through and we've automatically hyperlinked that set as well. So we can come through, even though this is a PDF, and browse sheet to sheet to sheet there as well and see all of the details, just like we're inside of that RBT file that we had earlier. All right. So to conclude with our session here today, since we've got a few minutes left, I don't know if there were any questions that have not been answered. So, you know, if there are, we can go ahead and take care of those now.
Yeah, so we had a couple questions, but there were lots of them before they've been answered since. Doesn't look like anybody has any questions. Now's the time to enter them in so we can get them answered. Otherwise, we're pretty good to go.
All right. Sounds good. So to wrap up again, basically what I showed you guys today, we started off this presentation by talking about BIM 360 as a platform, showed you all the different various tools that are there, with Docs, BIM 360 Docs being that document management solution that is our common data environment via the cloud, anytime, anywhere access on any device to that project information. So basically everything I've showed you here today is available via an iPad or an Android device as well. The markup capability, the RFI capability, it's just hard to demonstrate an iPad functionality harder to do that over a GoToMeeting, but that's all there as well. And so we talked about the platform, then we jumped specifically into Docs and showed you how this tool here can save you tons of time and effort, giving you that single source of truth, making sure that everybody is consistent on a job, knowing that they have the latest and greatest set of information. Again, whether it's a set of RBT files, I did not show you CAD, but it could be CAD files. Again, brand new today, linked RBT files, XREF to CAD files can be done as well. So you get the ability when you do an upload, you can choose linked files or not, and that's all a possibility for you as well. And in fact, you know what? Maybe we should quickly see that in the last moment here, because I don't think I even pointed that out. So this model that we had here now with our architectural actually had our structural and mechanical now showing inside of it as well. So we can take a quick look at that. But that's really where it is. It's a document repository, but it's so much more than that. It's so much more than a Dropbox. It eliminates the need to waste time making PDFs, making another file format. The moment you export out of Revit or AutoCAD to another file format, you're potentially out of date. Your naming convention goes out the window. Using a tool like Docs just assures that everybody's on the same page all of the time. Let's do an XY. Let's do a Y plane here. Oops, we can cut into that a little bit, zoom in a little bit closer. Maybe we can start seeing some of the other parts of the model. Oops, I'm halfway through a wall. There we are. A little bit tighter. Sorry, my mouse is. I need to change my scroll pattern a little bit. I believe that I had linked. It doesn't look like I had my mechanical system. Oh, there they are. So we actually have some of the mechanical in this case was actually some plumbing fixtures. So those are linked in, and I actually linked in a furniture RBT as well. So my furniture is now showing up in this view as well. So in the past, if you'd used Docs and you uploaded the architectural, you wouldn't see any of that. You wouldn't have any of the furniture because that was linked. The plumbing fixtures would not be showing there as well because those were part of a separate file. Now those are all showing in this environment as well. So with that, that takes us right to the top of the hour. Thanks everybody for joining us here today for this webinar on BIM 360 Docs, Autodesk BIM 360 Docs. Hope you got something great out of the presentation. If you do have additional questions, make sure that you get those over to us. You can always respond back to the invite email here, pose those questions, and we can make sure that we get them answered and back out to you. So again, thanks everybody for your time today.
Thank you, and that ends our presentation.